Good morning. This is Talking Devils, the leading independent Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, Wayne, joined by Manchester United legend Paul Parker to talk over last couple of weeks at Manchester United. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much, Wayne. Just to make you aware as well, I'm off to Germany on Saturday.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Just for a holiday, or are you going to watch some of the football?
No, I've been very fortunate in the to be taken by a group of people. They took me to Brazil, they took me to Qatar,
Yeah,
and they're taking me again. That's about 14 fellas, and they're taking me to the Euros.
nice. Um, and England actually look well placed for it this time round. They've well placed, not on the form of the pre-tournament friendlies, but in terms of the squad strength, you would think them and France are favourites for it.
I don't. I'm a little bit. I don't know. I don't see how no one talks about Portugal. I just find that absolutely astounding with the amount of incredible Portuguese players that play in our league and maybe dotted around at other places in Europe as well, playing for top clubs. That they don't get a mention. It's absolutely incredible. Most of our teams wouldn't function. I think, well, we look at United, how they function without Fernandes, and you look at Man City, you just look they're dotted around, and all we talk about all summer, all everyone's going on, is everyone's trying to buy a Portuguese player. I've just seen that Wolves have just gone and bought a player from Braga. So I wouldn't question them, and I tell you what, I don't question. I don't question Germany. You can't. Germany have got stronger and stronger. They're playing at home, so you can't just suddenly say it's England, France. I don't see how, to be honest, Wayne, and I'm quite a skeptic. Why do people feel they've got to put England as favourites? I just really don't understand that.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just down to the strength of the midfield and how excited everyone is about sort of Bellingham and the main. Well, we'll talk about main anyway. A lot of hype, but you're right about the Portuguese thing. I mean, I think the João Neves, who plays for Benfica United, are being linked with. I don't even think I'm not sure he's in the squad. I don't know, but he's definitely not one of their prominent players. But yeah, you're probably right. Portugal definitely dark horses.
As I say, yeah.
Morning to anyone who's watching. Obviously, if you are watching live on YouTube, if you can subscribe, like, get your comments and questions in. It's only a shortish pod today, but we'll try and get to as many comments as we can. If you are listening back on the audio podcast, you can subscribe and leave a positive review on the platform you're listening on. All right, let's talk about Manchester United 2, Manchester City 1, the FA Cup. United finished the season quite well. They had that sort of deceptive run of at least good performances, that sort of good results against Newcastle and then against Brighton. Yeah, good performances might be too much of a stretch, but it was nonetheless good form going into the final. And they saved the best performance probably of all season for the final. There was a period in that first half where they were soaking up the pressure, but the game plan seemed perfect. They countered. Garnacho scored after a mix-up with the goalkeeper, and then it was the perfect kind of situation. I mean, City were rattled for that five-minute spell. There was the Rashford disallowed goal, and it probably was, but I've seen a convincing replay 2 weeks later that tells me it was conclusively offside. But then, nonetheless, I mean, a minute or so after that, Mainu scored this great goal, which is involved early in the build-up and just fabulous play all the way through. One of the great cup final goals. We'll unpack all this. I want to talk specifically about Mainu's performance as well. But Paul, you were there. I unfortunately wasn't. United won 2-1. Rear guard action in the second half. So he had a lot of the ball, but United still had opportunities to break and score. What did you make of the performance? I mean, we are going to talk about Mainu and we are going to talk about the Ten Hag speculation. But for the final itself, the performance, did you feel like it was a good United performance? Did you feel like you came away from that thinking, first of all, yeah, it was a great performance in terms of the content of the season, but also that it gave you a conclusive answer, a positive answer about Ten Hag?
Yeah, yes. without a doubt, it did give me that. I mean, I was as sceptical as any, I think, Manchester United fan, and I'm there with everyone around in the media area, and everyone, everyone couldn't see it coming. I don't think anyone could have seen that coming, but I should have been better really, because all I've done is most of the time I've just talked about United and about their strength was always with Varane and Martinez playing together. The best football they played was always those two playing in those central roles, starting to play, shifting the ball quicker, the organisation in that back line. Even it made even having those two, it even made Onana look a little bit more assured, to be perfect honest. There's still frailties in his game, you know, but he looked better and he felt more confident. And the amount of pressure being put on, it was, and everyone expects City to have the ball and do what they do, that systematic football. But it was just the fact of they seemed a little bit more, they weren't in disarray way.
No.
They knew what they was all doing. They knew where to be. And I like the way that every now and again they turned them around. Marcus Rashford had two runs with Cole Walker. If he just maybe just showed that little bit more when he was shoulder to shoulder and used a bit of strength, you just don't know. He could have been going through 1-against-1, but he seemed to accept that he wasn't going to get there before Cole Walker. But what that did, that kind of pushed them further back. It was a threat behind, which I haven't seen from Marcus for a long, long time. So Cole Walker edges back that little bit further. He's worried because he doesn't want to leave him, say, on John Stones or even on Diaz. He doesn't want. So it causes a problem. And same on the other side with Garnacho. Garnacho hasn't got that change of pace. He's very one-paced in the way he plays. But because of his perseverance, and the thing that's really, which has been his strength, is his perseverance in his game. That's why he gets the rub of the green, and he's there to go and score that goal. It's easy to turn and say, "Oh, it's too long, it's bouncing through." But because he sees where the ball's going to bounce, he just gambles, and that's why United get themselves, I think, in certain ways, deservedly in front. Because I don't, as much as again City had the ball, they didn't cause that many problems to the keeper. It wasn't last-ditch challenges everywhere. It was just very, very well organised, and the players all stepped up. And you think about the games when they've stepped up, Liverpool twice, and now Manchester City, what is the most important game in an FA Cup final, which I would say that United have not needed an FA Cup final win or a win, as much as they needed that one, by the way. The manager needed it. Everyone wanted them to win it for the manager. And I'm really pleased they've done it. And they've done it in a fashion that people ain't going to turn around and just say he was lucky and use that as their excuse to go and get him out. So for me, I walked away eating. As I walked along, I opened up the box and pulled out my humble pie, and I ate that as I come away from the stadium. But do you know what? It didn't taste too bad this time.
No. You would have been able to have it. I bet. Talk to me about the second goal, because I mean, you talk about obviously there was fortune, but obviously it was the brave gambling for the first goal, like Garnacho did. But the second goal was polish. Mino and Fernandez involved in the build-up, both of them involved in the climax. The passes from Rashford and Garnacho both perfect. But the football played was extraordinary, wasn't it, for that second goal?
It was something that I haven't seen. I haven't seen Marcus Rashford do that. Where has that come from? That pass he made. Garnacho has always run. For me, I'd rather see Rashford make runs in behind, so there's more chance of getting there. But as again, using that word perseverance, he just made a run, and Marcus Rashford has hit an incredible ball. Because if Bruno Fernandes does that, we just go, well, it's normal. It's normal. But he does it, you go, wow. It's just the way it started. And then Garnacho, which I'm the first person always talk about his decision making and the fact of him, his delivery is poor, and he got both things right. But the icing, we've got this thing now where someone just touches the ball, just rolls twice over, and that person hits it. It goes in the net. He comes down. He's got an assist, and that's used to glamorise the way he's played. It glamorised his season. He's got an assist. That assist by a player where I'm starting to again get that smell of humble pie. Has just done this incredible pass, which was so unselfish. But the thing about it, he took responsibility. And when I say he took responsibility, if he hits that first time at goal, everyone goes either shouts goal or they go, wow, what a save. Oh, he should have gone over the bar, should have done this, should have done that. But he had the bravery and the belief in his own ability to touch that ball just round the corner. Now, if he tries to touch that ball and he overhits it, sorry, he's going to get everything all thrown at him. But he
Yeah.
deceived Carl Walker. He deceived Ortega in goal as well, because Ortega had set himself. He's waiting for that shot, and by doing what he done was incredible. But as well, the finish was so confident as well. You know, it's looked like virtually he's just gone with just with Fernandez, and it's like he was expecting that ball because I didn't see that coming. I did not see, and I was lucky being with the media that I could watch that over and over again. A lot of people had seen it and talking, and they needed to get home or they needed to the opportunity to maybe look at, I don't know, some dodgy feed or something to try and see if they can see what happened because, you still go and watch it now. And I've seen it quite a few times still, and I'm still, a little bit buzzed out about it, how that come about. And that goal definitely rocked Manchester City. It did rock them without a shadow of a doubt. And United got a little, got more and more confident, as confident as I've ever seen them this season, to be perfectly honest. And it was built on Varane and Martinez.
We've got this a lot of comments coming in. I will come to them all, guys. Don't worry. Mike says this comment that you just made, really, isn't it the case during the final that with Varane and Martinez there was a secure to work off playing this false nine as we did, allowed more bodies in midfield, showed that Ten Hag can indeed be tactically good. Yeah, I mean, there's something to say as well. I mean, I can't say that McTominay stood out, but the plan was to play him as that false nine. And he'd been trying that. He tried it against Brighton and he tried it against Newcastle. So that what we can say is it was a definite tactical plan that he prepared, and it worked perfectly. And I think that we've both said that about Ten Hag throughout the season is that when the players are there, there's a manager who's definitely there. He can execute these tactical plans. He's done it before. He did it last season. He's done it this season sporadically, and he certainly did it in the final. I do want to give special praise in this podcast, Paul, to Kobbie Mainoo. We spoke about composure for the goal there, but that final performance, you know me, my instant thing is to go for a frame of reference and look back over the history of United and look at performances. I do maybe I'm a little bit overexcited by the fact it's a recent thing. To say it's a top 10 performance in United history, but it's a contender for great United performances. And if I sort of narrow the field a little bit and look at FA Cup finals, I think of Roy Keane in '96 when he was marking McManaman, which was probably his second. A lot of people said that's Keane's best performance for United. I would have it second behind Turin. But the point is, as an individual performance in a cup final, I can't think of many better. And Mainoo's he's 19, he's bossed the game. We've talked about how many times over the last 3 years have we talked about a player who can come into a team and have the composure to play his own game, get more fireworks there, Paul. That's good. Maybe someone's celebrating the cup final. For a player to come into a team and settle and be composed is one thing. To be able to sort of execute a tactical plan is another. But he bossed that game. He imposed himself on the likes of Rodri and De Bruyne. It was Mainoo doing the running. It was him who was the player who had to be marked. And such an incredible show of composure at that level. Do you think I'm getting overexcited? But you've heard the way that I've described Kobbie's performance in the cup final. Do you think it's worthy of that praise? Do you think, like Ten Hag was saying after, maybe we should reserve it a little bit? I think when you see someone play like that, you've got to get excited.
I think you do get excited, but what Ten Hag is saying is absolutely right as well. Sir Alex never went never went overboard on the young players doing well. He virtually, in his own way, said it's to be expected. That might be the fact of he's giving himself a bit of praise on choosing that moment when that player comes in and when he does and when he doesn't play. But it's to be expected. And I think a lot of United fans understand that they don't want to go overboard because they don't want to kill his career. They want him, as all the other, the great young players who have come through, do it in the time rather than be. That's good. I'm so frogging my throat. Do it in the way the media are. The media are trying to, as we've seen just of late, are trying to go from one end of the street to the other by putting a flyover there to get you there quick as possible. Well, it shouldn't be that way. Take the flyover away and just go slowly. There's no rush. You can see that when he's got the right personnel around him, you get more out of him. You've seen the way he's played in certain games. That when you have a look at the players around him, you think to yourself, yeah, he's getting a bit of help there. It's when the games when he struggled, especially after that time, just after he made his debut for England. When you look at the teams, and he didn't have enough help around him to help him get through his game. So straight away he was being targeted by the media about his performances after he just represented his country for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's what they are to be. That's what it's become now, and it is becoming a battle between football and the media. And all you want is your sports media, which they were so trusted in my day compared to the mainstream. They were the ones who were always looking after you as a player because they were football and they didn't want any of that lot to get around you and start doing, saying bad things about you. It needs that old school to kind of have a word with these younger ones who are coming through are just more bothered about themselves rather than getting a relationship with young pros. And that is the biggest problem. Every time I see some of the old boys like Henry Winter and Martin Samuels, and I chat to them and they just say, there's no connection between these new ones and the pro. Then, they're not, a lot of it is because they're not allowed to. The PA, the person working with the clubs won't let them. And the players are living in this bubble, which has been forced on a lot of them, or the players, they don't want to talk with a common person. And I'll tell you what I've learned over the years, and I've got some still now when I go, that's one of the reasons why I still love going to games rather than sitting in the studio sometimes and doing it off tube, is that you go out and you meet and you chat to these people. And just by chatting before games to those journalists, it opens you up a little bit, and it sometimes helps you in your commentary just to have, their stamp of approval behind something, just to listen. And that's where we are going at the moment, and we're going to see this all come out in the next few weeks. All that's going on, the likes of Cobby is going to get, people are going to try and have a go at him because he's not Declan Rice, and they've got their favourites, their narratives, and that's because of this new age, these youngsters who are kind of caught up of supporting a player. The old school didn't go that way. They were, they knew they had to respect everything. But this new lot are just going that way. That's their narrative. There's their agenda, and they're going to end up themselves killing young players maybe coming through, or maybe hopefully they'll kill themselves in the sense of, they don't get the work.
I know what you mean. Don't worry, taking that out of context. But I know what you mean of because already it's reporters versus vultures basically, and the sort of change of the dynamic. And you're quite right. It's funny to see a lot of sort of people already getting on the back of Kobe and Saka before the tournament's even begun, like sharpening the knives. Before questions, comment. Dave's daughter Alana is watching us. Dave's not here today, Alana, as you can see, but she says he will be back. It sounds more like a threat, but that's fine. I understand. It's all good. Mike says, "Good morning, gents. Paul, thanks for the birthday video. It was a lovely surprise. I've seen that video. It wasn't a lovely surprise for me because he wasn't nice about me in there. I don't know why I needed to get a mention, but it was all good in the end." Dan says he's got a couple of questions, so I'll rattle through them quickly. Paul, he says, "How do you think Kobe will be feeling going into his first major international tournament on the back of a great season and the FA Cup win?"
I would say he'll be going into it on a bit of a high, with no great expectations, in the sense of he's done what he's done, but he's just
Yeah,
done. All he wants to do is just get there, and then you worry about the rest of it. On my way, when it was for me, I went to a tournament with no expectations, and it was incredible what happened in the end. And I think he's not going there expecting to start or anything like that, especially what occurred after the last one. But it's just to be there and given everything. It's just, it's like another stamp of approval that he's made the squad. And that's, I'm
yeah,
sure, is how he would look at it and how the people around him would look at it as well. Anything now that comes of it is it's just an absolute bonus now, as it was for me back in
yeah.
my time.
I do think with Cobby, it reminds me a little bit of more to do with Southgate. Really, is that reminds me of Beckham in '98 when Hoddle took him, and there was a reluctance to play him from the start, and at the end, he was like, he's a bona fide forever present after that. And I think that you can probably see that with Cobbe. He'd be undeniable. Dan also asks, he says, "Thanks for sharing your views again all this season. I follow that. Thanks, Paul, for your time. It's been great." He says, "Who did you room with for England in Italian? And do you think it's more suitable now that England players get their own rooms?"
Well, I roomed with Steve Hodge. The only benefit of rooming with him was the time that, because we only had was only allowed so many phone calls
Okay.
because mobile phones weren't around. So he wasn't. All he used to do was just speak to his mum or his agents. I think he was desperately trying to get away from Leeds United at that given time and get back to Forest.
Who
So I
wouldn't
was using,
wouldn't
yeah, I was using his little phone time just for me to use the phone. That was the only benefit of rooming with Steve Hodge. But I mean, this came up. I was chatting to someone the other day about it, and all my, up until that point of the World Cup, I always roomed with Dave Rocastle, and Dave got the curly finger just before we was just going. We all met up, and then it's ironic that three Arsenal players are left out: Dave Rocastle, Alan Smith, and Tony Adams. So I was
yeah,
rooming with Dave Rocastle, and the door knocked. Someone knocks on the door. Open the door, and it was Sir Bobby Robson, and he just looked at me and just said, "Op it." But when I opened that door, my heart went. So I just thought, it's me. I'm going to go. He's come and tell me. But he sent me out of the room, and lucky enough, I had clothes on because I couldn't go back for anything. And I went in the room, and I went in the room after, and Rocky was in there, and he's trying his best to get ready. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit emotional when I talk about Rocky. And Rocky was just sitting on the bed, and he looked at me and he just shook his head and he said, "It's off. I've gone." And there was actual, I think it was one of the ones the news channels showed pictures of me walking with Rocky out to a car, to send a car to take him. And I was carrying bags with him to take out because he was going. All we'd done from the moment we qualified was just talk about going there. We're going to be sharing rooms in Italy. We're going to go out if we get the chance. We're going to go out shopping in Italy, buying Italian clothes in Italy. All those, that was like, you know, two kids who were just more bothered about buying clothes and talking about the football. And
yeah.
when he didn't make it, it was absolutely devastating. It's one of the worst experiences in football. Being there when somebody's told no, like that is, it was horrible, especially to a man like that.
Yeah. Do you think it, like on Dan's question, do you think it's better that you were there for him?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally. I just thinking, especially now. I mean, we were virtually saying we talk, hotels now and everything. I mean, we were staying like post house travel lodge hotels. I mean, we stayed in like a travel lodge just before we played Belgium. It was open to everybody, and it just made things even better. You know, we all come from that. You're around normal people, but now they're going in these unbelievable posh hotels. They're giving these great big like stateroom kind of four-poster beds, and they're on their own. And you go there. I mean, I was away nearly 6 weeks, and if you're on your own, there is that little bit of loneliness. It's all well and good sometimes just to get out of your room and walk down to a hotel reception or go to the games room and sit around. But sometimes it's just good just to sit in the room and chat. You wake up in the morning and there's someone there and you have a chat before you maybe go down to prep. Yeah, I think it's saying wrong, but again, it's another change which we say go and do. But if it was me saying it, I wouldn't want to spend that long in a room on my own. It's lonely enough anyway, being away, going to do that without your friends or family being around. I tell you that it's very good. It's great that you're, camaraderie, you're together, but they're not your mates. They're people you play football with.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I mean, like that's you spoke there about getting that knock on the door, and like I guess in a situation where you're rooming by yourself and you get that knock, there's nowhere to hide. It's definitely for
Mm.
you. Um, Johnny says, "Morning, gents. Hope you're both good. Still replaying the weekly anniversary of Cobby's goal. I'm going to post it every week. I'm going to post that goal until I get bored of it, and I can't imagine that happening anytime soon. I'm definitely someone who wants to run a joke into the ground, and I will be doing that, as Paul knows." Robbie, very quickly before we move on to the final part of the pod, Robbie says, "What did you think of the Irish support at Italia 90? It was such a great tournament."
What did I think of it? Well, to be honest, you couldn't avoid it. There was Irishmen everywhere, and I mean everywhere. It was absolutely incredible. Even, I mean, we was on Sardinia, if I remember rightly. They was on Sicily, the island of
Yeah,
Sicily. So even there were some Irish fans who were, some of them were going back and forth doing between the islands. God knows what that was costing them. But you just go. I mean, you saw it on the TV, and the Italians were, you didn't know what was being said, but they focused so much on the Irish team and the Irish supporters. And I always turn around and say to people, I've never met. I mean, I know it's human nature says there is, but I've never met a nasty Irishman. To be perfectly honest,
yeah,
there's always a bit of humour. There's always something politeness. There's always something there. And do you know what that does? That pushes you into going to start a conversation with somebody you have never met before in your life. I just
yeah,
always find them very welcoming.
yeah. Apart from the one that would his way onto this podcast.
Yeah. Oh,
Thankfully, he's
sorry.
not
Yeah,
here
you're right. I
today.
forgot about that.
Yeah, thankfully he's not here, so I can get a word in edgeways. So, right, Erik Ten Hag. Obviously, everyone's talking about it. They were saying it before the final that he was sacked, whatever the outcome was. We're here 2 weeks after, and he's still in a job. But the speculation rages on. Yesterday, it was talked that Tuchel was discussed. He was brought into conversations with Ratcliffe last week in Monaco, and decided that he wasn't the man for the job. I mean, regardless of the veracity of those rumours, if you think, oh, that definitely did happen, and United are coveting managers, they're courting them while they've got one in the job, is a different kettle of fish altogether. But as it stands, and this is going to be our last podcast of the season, I know we're a couple of weeks removed from it, but we're going to take summer break, at which point we'll know the answer to this question. But Ten Hag's under contract, Paul. He hasn't been sacked as of us being on this podcast right now. We've had this conversation so many times over the season. I don't think we've ever changed our position in terms of we think he's the right man for the job. That being said, there's definitely been a couple of occasions where we've looked at it and thought it's difficult to see how he survives this. Um, People are saying you can't back him um, on the back of one result and one performance. But the point is that result and performance was vindication of everything we've been talking about. With just a few players back, the shift is so dramatic, then it can result in performances and results like that. Where do you stand on that? I mean, first of all, I think it's bad taste for like this network, and I'm talking about Sky Sports News in particular, constantly coming out with daily updates about something when they don't have news. They're actually speculating. It's not the job of a reporter. You were talking earlier about reporters and vultures. They're there to actually give you the news. A journalist in a newspaper, if they want to speculate, I guess that's fair game. That's kind of what they do. But not a news network. They're actually there to provide you with the news and the facts, not the speculation. And I don't think it's good to speculate on a man who's under contract when the club haven't announced anything, and they're not really briefing anything to the contrary either. Um, for me, I'm in the same position as I was. I still feel like it'd be a shame if he went now. I could see how it would be difficult in the aftermath of the Bournemouth defeat and the Palace defeat, and even the Coventry draw. They were difficult scenarios, but he got through them. There's a massive fan backing for him. Where do you stand? I guess you're probably going to say that you still see the future with him, but I mean, it's not good to see all this speculation raging out.
No, it's good, but as a saying used to be, there was saying that it was always around: if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And look at it. You look at the likes of Jeff Streaves. If he was doing that job still, he wouldn't be speculating because he had relationships with managers and players. So he wouldn't want to be going to do that because that would follow him on, and he wouldn't be trusted as he was when he was doing that job. And there's a reason why Sky let someone like him go, because they knew that he was never going to play their game. And you look at the people when they're talking, you ask what their backgrounds are, what they throw up, and they're just people who they've gotten on the cheap, so they just virtually got to fill space with nonsense. If they want someone to speculate, come and ask me, but I can give a little bit meat on the bone because I could maybe understand what's going on with maybe the players, or even an idea maybe our manager might be feeling this, what's going on. So there's more chance of me doing it. And I've had no training, I've got nothing behind me, no letters after my name to do that. But these people, chief soccer writer, chief this, chief that, not chief of anything. They've got someone in their ear. Just ask this direct question and be, and we'll make you look silly, but we'll just be hiding behind that bud in your ear. But with Ten Hag, I think it's an absolute disgrace. I wish I could think of a better word. This is supposed to be this company that have come in, idiots or whatever you want to call them, or maybe why they're behaving, idiots. You want them, their PR. I mean, you'd think they'll have it right, but by saying nothing, silence isn't golden on this matter. There's a lot of United fans who want this issue sorted out. The bonus of them coming in, everyone started thinking, oh, thank God for that. A summer where my team is going to go out and release and go and bring in some players, do it all early, start pre-season, and everything's ready to go. No excuses about people coming in late or if they're the right one because they've been seen up there last minute. But all of a sudden, it seems like they're waiting and waiting. And when you see these stories about Tuchel, they've met Tuchel in Monaco. I mean, to be honest, you can't do that if you've got someone sitting there in that job is under contract. If that was it in any other industry, I'm sure this would go to a tribunal. I'm sure you can't go and do that way. And it doesn't make any sense at all to do that. And how is Ten Hag feeling right now? He'll be feeling embarrassed, Wayne. That wherever he's walking around Manchester, as much as everyone loves him, is that he knows that people will talk about him. As soon as people see him, he wave to him the way he seems like the way he conducts himself. People see him on his bike and riding around. And as he knows, he sees that and he waves to him, he knows that they're going to be talking about him going. So these people must know in their own lives they wouldn't want that around them. So why are they doing it to somebody who's just given them an effort? He's given them two trophies. I think he's gone to four. Sorry, one, two. Yeah, he's gone to four finals. Is that correct? Or three finals?
Three finals.
I've lost 3 finals, so I've lost track of it. So give him a bit of respect to be able to live his life in the manner in which he deserves. And don't allow all this speculation to come out. And they hold the key. They're holding the key to stop all the speculation that's going on about this man. Now, if he was a nasty bit of work or whatever, maybe. And even then, you don't deserve it then for people to be allowed to talk behind your back. And that's what Manchester United are doing at this moment in time, Wayne. They're allowing their manager, their focal points in their business to be talked about by everybody around. So again, Manchester United, all this buyout of this new lot coming in, they have still not taken a step forward.
I mean, I look at it and I think it lowers you to sort of comment on the. I mean, we're part of that sort of network where we talk about everything. So I guess we're part of the problem in that regard. I think we try and be a bit more constructive than that. But you would want the club to respond to everything, and normally, like in the sort of like the days before and the days after the final, I thought no, it would be beneath the club to sort of like come out and respond to this, 'cause it didn't seem like it had any sort of thing. But it's like moss growing on a rolling stone, and they just run with it. I mean, there was a report the day before the final, which obviously, as well connected as Jacob Steinberg of the Guardian probably is, it didn't turn out to be true because he wasn't sacked straight after the final. And you had the aftermath of the final where Lineker and Shearer were throwing questions at him like bombs, dealt with it with dignity and class, and they defended their right to ask questions like that. But they didn't put it to Guardiola. They didn't ask him about the charges or anything like that. But it's like, and as if those questions haven't been asked of Ten Hag all season. That's the way that Shearer was framing his response. And I think that because there wasn't really widespread criticism of the way that they did things, it sort of like led it to be open season. So that every single day has been a new thread of speculation. I'm sure. I mean, we'll get the truth at some point over the summer, won't we? Whether or not it's all fabricated or whether or not there's been fire where there's been smoke. And I do at least think we're at the point where there's been so much of it that it doesn't befit the club to not continue in this manner and not have some kind of clarification. Because I think the supporters, everyone that I know, is kind of like, well, we'd like Ten Hag to have a public, not like like they call it the vote of confidence or whatever, but an actual genuine vote of confidence to say no, he's got our backing. But anyway, Paul said his point, I've said my point, and we don't know anything. The next time we'll be on this podcast is probably talking about that backing for him, hopefully, or another scenario, a man who's been chosen to replace him in United summer activity. That'll probably be a few weeks. Hopefully, we'll be sat with Dave, the Irishman who will weasel back onto the podcast. Not weasel, that's the wrong word. Weasel is obviously not a great description for Dave. He's a nice guy. But you'll listen to this, and we know how sensitive he is. He'll probably be complaining about that the first thing on the pod. Thanks a lot for everyone's time this season, the support on socials, privately on social networks where people reached out, everyone who's shared, everyone who's liked and commented and joined in the conversations with us on Monday mornings. Really appreciate that. And also thanks of all mostly to Paul for his time and staying with me talking about obviously everyone knows Paul's one of my heroes from my favourite team, and to sit and talk football with him for an hour or so every Monday morning has just been an absolute indulgence. Hope everyone has a great summer. We'll be off then, and we'll be back in a few weeks to talk about United, hopefully under the same manager with some new players. And hopefully Paul will have had a great season, pre-season, following England, winning the Euros, maybe not favourites. Maybe they'll put out on penalties in the semis by Germany. That's the way that we learned to follow them growing up. All right, thanks a lot for your time, guys. Stay safe, stay well. Thanks for listening and watching.